So we need to think that these old buildings, they're not bad. They just have a low energy performance. So we need to improve that.
18 teams, 11 countries, an international competition for young and creative students, building 18 houses in Wuppertal, energy efficient and social aware.
Hello. Sonja, you're a member of the SUM team. I will let you explain it first. Happy to have you here for the first time. And yeah,
Thank you very much. I'm happy to
start with telling about you. Yeah, who are you and what team member are you in your team?
Yes. So my name is Sonja, as you've already pointed out. I am from Serbia originally. I've started studying at TU Delft, my master's program in architecture last year. And I joined SUM at the beginning of September last year. I'm a team member of the Urban and Social Committee. And I'm also involved in other tasks. So I'm trying to bring the urban vision into the HDU. And I'm also in communication with the CNC. So we need to comply. So that is also my role. We have 44 people in our team currently. We started off with around 20. And then slowly, as we progressed, we realized we need more people. We have several committees. The design committees are the architecture, engineering, urban, and social are together.
All right. With so many people, you have to take care about the communication. What is your personal motivation to participate in the project? I mean, when did you hear about it first, and then what did make you join?
I heard about it from the previous team of SD. They gathered all of us newbies to look at the presentation and what they've done in their journey. They very much stressed on the hard work, the teamwork, the respect, everything that is basically in a team. So I really got interested. We have 44 people, and out of 44, it's 13 or even 15 now different nationalities, not even to say where they've lived and where they've worked. So honestly, it is one of the most extraordinary work experiences I've had. And that's one thing, is learning from one another. But in the process, you also see something develop from a sketch to it being built. Very many people got interested because of the aspect of physical work and seeing the entire design develop. I think SD just gives you an opportunity to see a problem and tackling that problem physically. And it gives you this sort of sense of power that you can actually do something, which is extremely motivating as architects, designers, and future generation of the building environment. For us, it's really important that we know we can make a change. So SD really provides that.
Yeah, next question. I mean, you answered before that your team has participated before, so I'm going to ask that again. But do you have any specific contact to former Decathletes? And if yes, what do you learn from them? What do you learn from their experiences?
We've had a lot of contact with both Prataloge and Moore. And Moore is also, several of the people also are advisors, several of their teammates. And honestly, they've been great help. I think a lot of things which they don't talk about, not them, but in particular, is the amount of, it's a lot of hard work, a lot of tolerance and communication within your team members. So I think that is an important thing which they've taught us as well through their own personal experience, but also how wonderful the experience was when they started building. So far that they've been very critical of our work, which is very great. But very often we go out for a drink and they tell us about the good times as well. I mean, it was all good, but the fun times in Hungary and also during the office work in Delft and so on. So it's been great. The communication with them as well. So
there's a lot of preparation going on before having beers. That's part of the preparation too. Yeah, first steps have now been taken, and I'm not sure if I told you I'm not an architect, so maybe you have an idea about your project by now, I guess. Maybe you can give me or give the viewers a little insight about what it is about.
The whole point of SUM, the name itself, is this symbiotic urban movement. So we try to capture the goal and the means to which we reach the goal and the scale to which we reach the goal. So we're tackling a very diverse building environment in The Hague. So we try to create a symbiotic relationship between different parts of the community, the old, the new, the present. The connotation it bears is also this technological improvement that will help with sustainable environments that we need to adapt for the future. There are a lot of different visions from, for example, the EU, that we need to comply in 2030 and 50 to make the building environment carbon neutral and so on. But what some is about is that we wanted to look into the deeper root of issues that are there. It's not just the technology, it's how you use the technology, for example. So it is not enough that you implement certain strategies such as solar panels or passive house effect or so on, but you actually need for people to understand how these different materials work, how your behavior influences the environment, and how you can be integrated within the environment. The technology exists there, like the sustainable technology exists there, but it's more about how people use it and how they perceive it. Sometimes there's very low-tech solutions which can be implemented if people knew how to use it. Like I come from a country where we don't do a lot of things. We don't recycle, because we don't understand it, and it's not implemented within our system. And my parents as well, for example, they don't really know this, so they don't know how to apply it. It's not about the people. In order for change, this is why I'm so glad that SD went urban, because a change doesn't happen on one building. It's not a city, it's not cities, it's countries, and the connection between the countries as well.
What have you enjoyed most about the project so far?
I really enjoy working with other people, and I honestly can't wait to see also what the other teams come up with. We're so diverse and we propose such different solutions, and just combining them together, all these different minds, is a really great experience. The first steps which we have taken with the project in the kind of the concept design phase from September, first deciding which of the three scenarios which SD proposed we're going to take. So from the top-up and renovation, extension on the side renovation, and filling the gap between two buildings. Some had this very utopian vision that we implement all of these solutions because that's the only solution, really. We wanted to tackle a universal typology so we can apply this system anywhere. So in the Netherlands, there's around 874,000 tenement flats, post-war tenement flats. And in Eastern Europe, there are also, for example, where I live. So this is a very common typology. And because of the certain standards of their building performance and social issues which they bear with them, we wanted to tackle both the social, the environmental, and the economical issues of these buildings. So they needed to be, for example, brought to energy label A by 2030 and so on. There are a lot of social problems with these buildings, for example. Not a lot, but it's a very monofunctional neighborhood. So courtyards are not really being used, for example. And also there's a harsh segregation between the building itself and the public environment. So there's not a nice social transition between the two. What some wants to do is create a symbiotic relationship between our top-up and the building, which we're tackling. So we don't want to set an example for future generations where a lot of plans that we spoke with partners was, for example, they want to demolish, or they need to build for 2050. Yeah, but what happens beyond 2050? What happens 2070? What are our goals going to be then? So we need to think that these old buildings, they're not bad. They just have a low energy performance. So we need to improve that. There's already a housing shortage in the Netherlands. We need to add 1 million homes already. So we're not tackling this challenge, but we're trying to contribute to improving it. Den Hague especially has a lot of post-war tenement flats. And when we went on site visits, we looked at the neighborhoods and we noticed a lot of social issues, which we also wanted to tackle. It gives you a better perspective when you're there as well, when you can visit and actually go every week and see the neighborhood and talk to the people who live there.
How is the Corona situation I know that you are not in the Netherlands right now, but how is it in the Netherlands? How is it maybe in Serbia? I guess you're in Serbia, right? And how does it currently influence your work?
In the Netherlands, they've made a very prompt decision to close the faculty when the outbreak happened. And from, I think, March or April, we already started working online. The first couple of months, it was hard to adjust. We still had the office, but we didn't use it as much. I believe end of February, March was when the pandemic began. And then I think the faculty closed around mid-March or so. What kept us really together, and also what we try to emphasize a lot, is organization and respecting each other's time, making sure that when we say we're available, we're available. And so it made the distance more bearable as well. Sometimes we would meet on a 1.5 distance, if not more, to talk to people, because obviously it's easier to sketch. But we actually, I'm not promoting here, but we actually found very nice platforms where you can sketch, and it's great online. It's very interactive. So we found our ways. We didn't let the pandemic stop us. We also had game nights, charades, and game nights online, which was a lot of fun. We introduced new members online. So there are members we still haven't met, which are working remotely from home. Mm-hmm. And also currently now that the regulations everything is slowly opening up and the campus life is slowly reviving, we have two parts of the team. One is remote and one is in the office. So they set up a camera, and then we have morning kickoff meetings on Monday and wrap-up meetings at the end of the week. We just make sure that we're connected and keeping it positive.
This is the first time something like this happens, at least to me. We can have some learnings out of this, and that's my next question. To be specific, how can this COVID-19 situation, how can it lead to a changed view of housing and building, and especially when I'm thinking about community, flexibility that you guys were talking about, nature. What do you think about that?
Some already started thinking about this before the pandemic, how to integrate different functions already within the community. But then when the pandemic happened, we realized how important and how much we took for granted these little things, meeting for a coffee, just chatting with someone, and it was not possible anymore. So what we try to do is basically stage an environment also in our design where there can be spontaneous interaction with people you may never meet in a daily basis. So by positioning certain functions together, you can create these smaller interaction points while still keeping to the regulations, for example. A lot of us experienced our room as a gym, as a model making studio, photography studio, everything. So it's also thinking about how just a smaller studio space can be adapted to all these different functions. Which also runs in line with this concept of modularity and flexibility, which I think is today very important. Public transport is another thing which we focused a lot on already, but having access to it and determining routing, for example, how you can also predict if something gets closed off, how can people still lead a normal life and not be affected by it so much.
Do you think that it's going to have an impact on the long run, or do you think that people will get back to their normal routine?
Well, the same question was actually posed if the culture of shaking hands is going to die out. And I don't think so. I think I do think that our building environment is already changing, maybe now even faster than before. Especially that a lot of countries have seen change happen. A lot of countries were affected by this pandemic and they were not prepared in many ways. So I think it's going to change a lot, especially mobility, transport, supplies, connection with other countries, building a resilience together. And I think that's definitely going to reflect on the way we design as well. Keeping it sane at this time of the pandemic, very important. Mental health, open spaces. Yeah. A lot of people appreciated gardens. If they had a garden, they were like the kings of Delft.
Enough about the COVID-19. We talked about that. Let's look forward to Wuppertal. Have you ever been to Wuppertal, or what do you know about Wuppertal?
No, I've never been. We actually booked tickets to come in March, a couple of us, but it got cancelled. Mm-hmm. But I was so excited because I've heard so much about your Schwebebahn, and I looked at the photographs with the elephant that fell out of. I've seen the photograph of the elephant falling through the Schwebebahn. I was like, oh my god, how is this possible? So I was looking forward to seeing that. Okay,
for right now we're done. That's it. Thank you for the interview, and I'm really looking forward to meet all of you and to meet you in person. And thank you very much, Sonja.
Thank you very much as well. I really enjoyed it.